Well, sure, you want to start her?
Sure, I'll start. Most of you know Highway 20 is coming through to the north of you, and Richard has talked to me a couple of times about looking at some property out there to annex, specifically because there's a potential buyer of a piece of property that apparently sits partly in the city and partly in the county proper. This would be your opportunity now to attempt to get some property out there that you can control for development next to your community. There are some maps, as close as we can get them. We haven't got some very good copies, but there are some maps that show some of the area. I talked to Chris Whittaker at Region 12 today, and he says he's been here in the past to talk about annexation. I don't know how many of you have heard his speech on that, about the annexation, involuntary. I don't know how much information you need. You know, I can talk about it, but I guess probably the best thing to do would maybe to put a committee together of council people that would like to work on this, because as we're finding out, there are some development potential occurring even now, even though the road's not here. And I talked to the bridge contractors today, and they're going gung-ho all winter long, so you want to be prepared, and it takes time. It takes public hearings and notices to property owners and things like that. So I don't exactly know what all you have there, what you're looking at, but and what your ideas are as far as property. This is never a real pleasant process, but a necessary one if you're going to control the growth around your community.
Well, Menser one time said that he would go. Well, me and Bill talked to him one time, and if everybody else would, so. And I think Drays would go. And on Groff, I have no idea.
I've talked to him about that. At the time, he wasn't interested. You know, he wasn't even interested in business. A few square feet for a water tower.
Yeah.
But at the time, his dad was not in good shape, and now it's all in the trust, from what I've heard. And, you know, with him losing a lot of ground out there, I don't know how anxious he's going to be to lose more. Well, he's not losing it, he's just, if he wants to sell it, he's still going to own the property. It's just that we're going to have to make sure that we have the capability of getting the infrastructure in place out there.
That's probably what concerns me the most about when cities start talking about annexation and stuff, is they need to be prepared to put the infrastructure out there if you are going to have development. You can't have one without the other.
Right.
And so you have to make sure that your systems are capable of handling any additional development, and how much. And
well, we've discussed it in the past as far as what's going to be needed, but there's been no surveys to let us know for sure. You know, how much of a drop there is, if there isn't going to be any drop, to our sanitary sewer.
okay. What engineer do you work with?
Yeah.
Does everybody up to that north end of town have sewer and water now?
Yes.
I don't know.
In city limits?
In city limits.
In city limits, okay. So the property that's outside of city limits, then
That has water.
that has water in it?
Well,
Whistings have water.
yeah, Whistings has water. The property in question, there's water right beside the part that is in the county,
Okay.
because he owns both.
Well, you probably have tax abatement too, which the county does not, and they haven't put an urban revitalization plan in place so that they can just give tax abatement at every development site, because they have to identify them. Where it would be beneficial if someone that would develop to have it within the city limits so they can take advantage of that. If there was a huge development out there, then I would suggest something like TIF, as long as that's still in place when the time comes. But determining where you want to annex and where you're capable of running infrastructure is probably the most important. And then, of course, you can do the involuntary if you have 80%, I think, for 20% opposed, whatever. The biggest one we've ever gone through is the one down at Lakeview when they annexed around the lake, and we had to have the big boys come in from the state and settle it. But it wasn't too hard to make them see reason, so.
What's ag ground, how much would that lower their taxes?
Actually, they tell me that if your ag ground is in the city limits, it's lower than it is if it's in the county.
But you don't know how much?
I can't tell you right offhand because I didn't bring the tax levy sheet with me, but that might be a selling point if you would take, you know, the number of acres that they have and determine with the assessor what the new assessment would be. So, one of the things that they haven't done, and the assessors were good about throwing some figures out there, but if you don't take the whole assessed valuation of new property, add it to the assessed valuation of your community, and then give them their tax. If you just say, oh no, that's going to increase your tax so much, not compiling everything, then they're not getting the true figures. So, but if it's just bare farm ground, and you're right, it looks like they've taken a lot of their property for proposed borrow, which they have the first right to purchase that back. After that, then the conservation does, and then it's open to the public. You know, there could be some desirable, you know, development out there. And they don't have to sell their land, even though it's zoned differently. And they're grandfathered in as ag land, so.
So it wouldn't increase, if it's not changing from ag land, then it wouldn't be increasing their taxes at all.
Should decrease it.
Decrease, yeah.